Hey everybody, it's Liz and Steven with Abyss Paranormal. Thanks for joining us tonight for the Abyss Paranormal Cryptid show. Before we get started, for anybody who is just joining us for the first time or maybe don't remember, Steven, why don't you remind everybody what a cryptid is?
A cryptid is a creature or an animal that people see and have sightings of, but there is no scientific evidence that it exists.
Okay. And you know how you was having camera issues a minute ago? I don't know if you can see it, but your camera is glitch. It's like it's got lines across it like an old TV.
Yeah, I see it every once in a while.
I wonder what's going on.
I don't know.
Do you want to sign out, restart, and come back real quick? I'll just leave it going and wait for you.
Do you want me to?
Maybe just to cease, because I'd hate for it to glitch out on you completely and shut down or something in the middle.
All right.
Okay, we'll see you in a minute. So for the time being, we'll just kind of chat here for a minute. Go ahead and take this time, if you will, to share out the show and try to get some more people in here to join the conversation. It's always a lot easier to talk about things when we can have a big discussion with other people. So, oh, that is better.
Is it better?
Okay. Yep. All right. So tonight we're talking about hey, Dina.
Hi, Shalom.
Tonight we're talking about the Gloucester Sea Serpent. And I had a totally different idea about where this sea serpent must have come from because of the name Gloucester. But Steven kind of, we talked a little bit before the show started, and he told me actually a little more about it. And I'm really surprised about where it originated from. So without further ado, Steven, go ahead and give us a bit of an education.
Gloucester, or am I saying it right?
I think it's Gloucester.
Is in Massachusetts, and I think it's also by Cape Ann, because a lot of it also mentions Cape Ann as an area where this creature was also seen. So I'm guessing, and I don't really know exactly, but I'm thinking that there may be like a beach line and they're kind of connected in some way. I don't know.
Okay. Which would make sense because it's the entire New England coast, really.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the earliest sighting that you found?
The earliest sighting was the earliest sighting of the creature was off the coast of Cape Ann in 1638. And this was written by a man named John Josephine. And I think he was like in a boat when he wrote this, or maybe he's writing about other people and documenting something. Because I get the impression that these people are on a boat and they are seeing this thing. And there's also 2 Native Americans on the boat with them. And I can read the quote that he says. He says, "They told me of a sea serpent or snake that lay coiled up like a cable upon the rock of Cape Ann. A boat passed by with English on board and 2 Indians. They could have shot the serpent, but the Indians dissuaded them, saying that if he were not killed outright, they would all be in danger of their lives." This was in 1638 by a man named John Joselyn, or
I think it's Jocelyn.
Yeah.
John Jocelyn. And the image I'm showing on the screen is the depiction of the settlers and a multi-humped sea serpent that was done by Johann Ludwig Gottfried.
And then later on, there were sightings of this creature around August of 1817, and they continued on till 1818 and 1819. And then after that, they kind of, I think, ceased, or at least those ones ceased, and then there may have been some other sightings too. But those are the ones that I read about the most. and they're
Okay.
kind of historical, I guess.
Was Egg Rock a part of the New England coastline as well, or did you find that?
I didn't find anything about that.
Okay. So I'm looking at this site that I'm sharing with everybody, and there was another serpent that they said that they found passing between Egg Rock and promontory. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was winding its way into Lynn Harbor.
According to some sources, the creature was either a large serpent. It sometimes was described as having a body with humps on it. And sometimes it was even described as having a horn on its head. So one theory about it is that it may have been a narwhal they saw. There's a lot of different theories about what it could have been.
Okay. Now that, of course, most of the images that we have are, of course, artist depictions or whatever. And unfortunately, there's no pictures, it seems, that, of an actual serpent.
This was like in the 1800s. So this was before, I don't know if it was before cameras, but this is like an early period of American history.
Right. Well, one thing is for sure, they, I guess because New England is so big about their Gloucester Sea Serpent, that they actually have statues out there now. This is one that was shared with us by Vicky. Apparently, This is a statue you can see in the New England region of the sea serpent. They I guess they kind of idolize it,
Yeah, I read that it's beloved by locals. It's a local attraction and an icon, and many people use it as like a symbol of their businesses and as logos and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So it's a really important part of their history, but it's also kind of a mysterious part of their history. That's people don't know what to exactly make of it. Was it real? Did they really see a serpent? Did they see some other creature they couldn't identify? Could this be explained as something natural?
Did you find any information? So, like, if we look back at John Jocelyn's recording of the sighting back in 1639, the Indians very specifically spoke of not, don't take a shot at it unless you actually kill it, because then our lives will be in danger. Hey, Andrea. And did you find any kind of Native American legend about that? Like, I'm wondering where they came up with this.
I didn't, but I read stuff that they knew about it, or that they knew of such a creature, but I didn't read any stuff that was like their own stuff or anything like that.
Gotcha.
But apparently, even according to this guy's quote, these Native Americans were familiar with it.
Right. That's what I'm picking up, and I just
they
didn't
were
know
scared of it.
Found anything about it. And I know a lot of people are going to be drawing conclusions that this has to, maybe has something to do with the with Nessie, for instance, or whatever. But I should put out there that I did ask Stephen not to go into that one just yet, because it leaves us other topics to talk about, and then eventually we can correlate them all eventually.
Yeah, so. I didn't look up anything about other sea serpents. There's other sea serpent phenomenon that people have seen. I've even seen photos and stuff like that. And some of these photos, they're not exactly, they're it's kind of like pictures of Nessie and stuff like that. And even Bigfoot.
Gotcha. So so now we have the earliest recorded sighting anyway was 1639. Has there been any other things happening on the New England coast, or other sightings that has happened since then?
I only read of one that occurred, a sighting that occurred in 1962. but I didn't learn any information about that. You said that you read one that was like in 1970.
Yes. I'll go ahead and share that real quick, and that way you guys can follow along with that. So the same page that he found some of his information out. By the way, it's called historicipswich.net. Anyways, you click on Ipswich River and it takes you to some of this information. But anyways, it says here under recent sightings that after the age of motorized ocean travel, reports of a serpent, or I'm sorry, sea serpent subsided. And it has been speculated that if such creatures did exist, that they may have been warned off by the sounds of ship engines. Reported sightings have continued to this day in Nova Scotia. On Sunday, November 15th, 1970, a sea monster, and they put that in quotations, washed ashore in Scituate, south of Boston. In the next 3 days, over 10,000 people saw the creature. Discoverers of the carcass claimed it was at least 50 feet long, but souvenir seekers hacked off many pieces before authorities from the New England Aquarium arrived to investigate. It goes on to say that there were some speculation about what they may have seen. It said that some of the sightings could have been like a Plum Island squid, which is a giant squid.
Which is a real creature.
Right. And they said this particular one, this Plum Island one, actually washed ashore in 1980. And it had this it says here that the sightings of the giant squid or kraken have been reported for centuries, but the creature was long considered to be mythological. The image that I'm seeing here, though, it doesn't seem to be that large of a squid, if you ask me. If you guys see there.
I've also heard speculation that some of these sea serpents could have been oarfish. Some of them are long, like that.
They say that they can get.
Is that the one that was found in California?
This one.
Yeah.
Catalina Island off the California coast. They said it can get up to 26 feet long, but it also said that there are some unconfirmed reports of specimens as long as 56 feet.
How long was that one? That was 26. Oh, wow.
That one was 18 feet. Here's some Navy SEALs holding a 23-foot one. This one was near San Diego. That was in 96. That picture was taken. And that's all they have on that. So
I want to talk more about the Glenn's, what are they called? The
Gloucester
one. There supposedly were 18 documented sightings of it. There was a society, the Linneonian Society, that was like a scientific. They were like a study of nature and stuff, and a scientific group of that time. So they were trying to like compete with Europe and be more scientific to some degree.
Okay.
And basically this group was documenting and giving questionnaires to people about it, and people would write out their answers what they saw and stuff. At one point there were some boys on a beach that found a what they thought was a baby serpent of it, or an offspring of it, and it was black and had humps on it, and they gave it a name. They called it a new genus. I'm probably not saying this right. Scolopiahis atlanticus.
Oh my, they gave it a real scientific name.
Yeah, which basically means, let me find my other notes that say what it meant. It meant Atlantic humped snake, and they had it on display and stuff. And later on, it was discovered by dissecting it that it was actually a deformed black snake. It was not connected with that at all.
Was this particular one found in Cape Ann?
Um,
Because if so, Vicky, I think that's what he was talking about right now, as a matter of fact.
there was a man named Alexander Leisure who examined it and determined that the specimen was in fact a deformed common black snake. I don't have it written down where they found it at,
Okay.
but I'm not saying people didn't see it, but it just seems like with a lot of what we're studying, there seems to be a lot of like, to me, it just seems kind of hokey. I mean, people like are creating hoaxes, or maybe they're misidentifying things or something like that.
Right, right. Well, and this is where I am about like ocean creatures. So, I think there is just as much, I think it's been said anyway, that there is just as much ocean as there is space that has not even been explored, and we got all kinds of crazy ass creatures down there way in the deep, that we don't even know exist yet because we can't get down there. So the idea that there may be, these big ass snakes down there somewhere that we haven't seen, I mean, it's completely plausible. But it makes me wonder, why would they come to the surface? You know what I mean? If they're so deep that we can't see them when we're on a boat or swimming or with sonar or anything like that, how is it that they come up far enough that we can now see them at the surface? What's bringing them up?
One theory is that they could be eels, which would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
One theory is that the serpent they saw was a narwhal, because there's some accounts where people will claim that it had a protruding horn on it or multiple horns.
Right. So, I mean, it's possible that they're there, but it's still, like I said, it just makes me wonder, like you were saying, like the legitimacy of the sightings. Like, if we can't see them regularly or whatever, what's bringing them up to be sighted, and how is it that it only happens occasionally? You know what I mean? So
I read there were accounts where people said that they were, expert sailors and they seen it, and it had a snake body. They claimed it had evil eyes and stuff like that. So I don't know. People see a lot of things.
right. So from what you gathered, though, I mean, do you have any theories about what you think it might be?
I kind of think that it may have been something like a narwhal or maybe even an oarfish. I'm leaning on the skeptical side, I guess. I don't know.
No, that's okay. I mean, who
But
are we not?
you're right.
About
I mean,
things?
we don't know everything. It could have been a Nasi-like creature, or even a snake. There is real sea snakes too,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not big.
How big do they get? Did you find anything out about them?
I didn't look anything up about them.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of sea snakes myself, but I don't know enough about them. you know. So, okay. Well, Vicky said that the one she was talking about that was in Cape Ann, she said they nicknamed it Lumpy.
Oh,
That one that they thought was the serpent's baby.
that may have been its name. I didn't find that.
Dina, she thinks it's urban legend.
It could be. That's one way of looking at it.
we have to also consider the time when it was first sighted, right? So here's the thing. Like all sea serpents in general, their original sightings happened way before anybody could actually document it. But back in those days, let's consider the time in which this particular one was sighted. 1639. During that time, we were only being discovered. We were new to the area, or at least Europeans were new to this area, and um, and at that time we were very heavily religious, you know, and at that time we also had the witch burnings, stuff like that. So very controlling type policies and such
But
in
I
our
think
in our
at that
country.
time we were kind of getting out of that to some degree, weren't
But
we?
we still had though
Mhm.
those who were acting like tyrants over here, who were killing women because they thought they were hysterical, and that sort of thing. And so I almost wonder if the earliest sighting wasn't in fact documented as a way to control the people from leaving or attempting to leave or anything like that, so that they can populate the country faster, because we know what we know from history books or whatever, but as we also know, not all of history is ever fully reported. So, what if there was something going on at that time that, people were like, nope, we're getting out, we're going back to England or whatever. And they were like, we need to scare the shit out of them and keep them on here on this land.
Yep. At that time, I think there were other cases of sea serpent incidences, like in Norway too. So people did believe in this kind of thing. It wasn't like things they were questioning. Maybe, I don't know.
Right. The village. Yes. Just like the village, Dina. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And here's the thing, like Steven said, I mean, there's all these other countries around the world that have these supposed sightings, but who's to say that one controlling European didn't know about that story and decided, oh, that's the perfect story, you know?
Or
So
if you don't want people to explore the ocean, you just create stories of these monsters, and it would dispersuade people from going to certain places and stuff. Maybe that's
that's
part of it too.
exactly that's exactly what I'm saying. Joe
Maybe it
says, if
was
the
just
dinosaurs died because of the asteroids, would that affect these cryptids living deep in the ocean? That's a good question, because we have to consider the megalodon. It's been proven to actually be a real thing, but I don't know that it still exists as much as it was a thing of the past. Then we have monstrous, dinosaurs that were in the ocean, but some of them died, but maybe they were closer to the surface. So, uh, would that asteroid impact make a difference to creatures in the deep sea? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Um, I don't know.
I
What do you
mean,
think? I
I mean,
have to read more about it.
if it's deep enough, I would think that they could be protected from the impact. Because you have to consider how deep it is. It's
I've
deeper than
never
we've ever
thought
been.
about it.
So what if? And I think where Joe's getting at, what if these
If
big
an
ass
asteroid,
things
if
are
an
actually
asteroid,
dinosaurs?
if an asteroid hit the Earth and the dinosaurs died out, and we descended later on from mammal-like creatures that were alive at the same time, I guess, if you believe in evolution, I do. Uh,
Hmm.
so I don't know.
Right. Yeah, no, Joe, I think you're onto something there, because I kind of wanted the same thing. I think that way about a lot of things. I mean, with the fact that we still have chickens, they have been proven to be a direct descendant of dinosaurs. How is that possible if a dinosaur didn't survive? Okay.
Some
So
small
then
ones did, and they turned into birds.
right, exactly. So evolution did show that, something did survive on the surface from this asteroid hitting Earth. So there's, it wouldn't be too hard to assume that a deep sea creature did not survive too. And, that's why maybe that's why we're rarely seeing it. Maybe because it is so deep.
And crocodiles. Aren't crocodiles and alligators some of the oldest?
Ostriches.
Aren't they older than the dinosaurs?
They are a dinosaur. I think they're considered an actual dinosaur. And the same thing with ostriches, I believe. Ruben?
Ostriches and turkeys.
Ostriches and turkeys, Ruben said.
Yep. Sean Woman's talking about alligators too.
Yep. And Vicky had a good thought. She said maybe earthquakes bring them to the surface. That's a good thought. That is something we should look to see if it correlates. Was there an earthquake around this time that these sightings supposedly happened, or death of one?
I didn't even think about that.
That's a good thought. Because think about it, under the ocean, when there's active volcanoes under the sea. There's a plate, the tectonic plates that shift all the time underneath there. That's how we get tsunamis. So it's a very good chance that maybe has something to do with it. That's a good thought, Vicky. So
that's really all the information I have.
Okay. Does Gloucester still exist, or is it now just called Ipswich in New England and all that? Does Gloucester, Massachusetts actually still exist today? Hi, Tammy.
I think that what I looked up was more like a tourist-related stuff. So I would probably say it does.
Okay, because some of those old New England towns, their names changed after time or whatever. So
I don't know. I didn't really even think to look that up, Liz.
I'll just do it right now. Okay, Google.
Researcher. I'm a bad researcher.
Does Gloucester, Massachusetts still exist?
According to Wikipedia, Gloucester is a city in Essex County, Massachusetts, United States. It sits on Cape Ann and is a part of Massachusetts' North Shore.
So there's the same area.
The link in your Google Home or Google Assistant app.
And she did not pronounce it the way I've been doing it. How does she pronounce that?
Gloucester.
Gloucester? This whole time I thought it was Gloucester.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's how it's written.
Yeah. But Google also might just be pronouncing it how she thinks is correct. She's wrong.
You're wrong.
I know more than Google.
Just because I say so.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So Tammy, everybody should welcome Tammy. She's new to our little group here. She's found a new interest in some of our things that we do or whatever, and she's reached out to me, and I invited her over to come watch some of our shows and learn a little more and stuff like that. So everybody say hi, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
But so Tammy just got logged in, but what we were talking about was apparently called the Gloucester.
The Gloucester
Sea serpent. Yes. But I'm sticking with it. It's a Gloucester sea serpent. And to kind of summarize everything that we did talk about, we, basically that this thing's earliest sighting happened on the New England coast off of Massachusetts in 1639 by a man named John, I forgot the name now, John something.
John.
Jolie or Jolicky or
Jocelyn, which I could be
Jocelyn.
saying wrong too.
Yeah, that's it.
Josselyn. This was in 1638.
That's right, Dina. AI ain't all that. I am. Okay. So, but so anyways, and so that was the earliest sighting. This guy supposedly was out on a boat with two Native Americans who told him that if he were to shoot them, to shoot the sea serpent, that they better make sure they actually kill that sea serpent. Otherwise, all their lives are at stake. Then the latest sighting was of a carcass in 1970 off the same bay area.
And a lot of the cases happened in 1817, 1888, and 1819. And there were like I think like what did I say? 18 documented sightings in that period. So I don't know. It could have also been a hysteria too.
It could have, and I think that's kind of, the 1970 sighting. They said that over 10,000 people were able to see this serpent, and I can't help but think, how did everybody flock there like that? How did so many people see the same exact thing before it was completely annihilated, before anybody could actually investigate it? 10,000 people. It had to have been a mass hysteria situation. I don't know. People.
There also was a play written by a man named William Craft, and it's basically called The Sea Serpent or Gloucester Hoax. And it's basically kind of making fun of the whole thing.
Really? What did you find out about that? I didn't hear that earlier.
I didn't really find out much about it, but I think it was written around the same time period or after it happened. Let me look up more about it.
Back in the 1800s, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vicky, the 1639 though one, there probably wouldn't be any documentation of an earthquake around that time. But I see what you're probably talking about the 1971, aren't you?
The play was published in 1819, and it was kind of lampooning it, basically.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So it was around the time period that it happened.
Ruben, do a couple of things for me real quick. Stop eating for just a second, okay? Google, let's see, it was Cape Ann. Wasn't it Cape Ann where the carcass was washed up on? It was Cape Ann. I have it. That's how I have it open. Yeah, exactly, Dina. Okay, population of Cape Ann in 1970 for me, please. And then tell me that number, and then I got another one for you.
1970.
Mm-hmm.
$203,392.31.
Could have been 10,000. There was over 203,000 people there at that time. But still, even still, I don't know how 10,000 people could have seen it in that small of a window, because they ended up chopping this thing up and taking the pieces of it away before anybody could actually find out what it was. The second question is around 19. Let me see that. Hold on just a minute, guys. Let me look up something real quick. See if there was. I know it's rare for an actual earthquake on the East Coast, but see if there was a reporting of an earthquake in around November 15th, 1970. What about 1819, Dina?
That's when the sightings occurred.
What'd you say, Rue?
There was no earthquakes on the East Coast in 1970. I'm looking at a map.
Okay. No earthquakes reported at all in 1970 on the East Coast.
Holy cow.
That would have made sense, though. So, Dina says never mind. Okay. So anyways, there's that. You got anything else to add?
Nope.
Does anybody have questions? Nightbot says to make sure to subscribe, like, and share out the Abyss Paranormal YouTube channel. That's what's been funny, Steven. Haha, Liz, you're so funny.
That's an advertisement.
I know.
I would like to point out something if it's all right.
Rubens wants to point out something if that's all right. He got a haircut today, guys. He looks good. Go ahead.
Thank you. Earthquakes produce extremely low frequency pulses when they happen, and the government has used that to induce hallucinations in people, the same waves.
What does that have to do with the sea serpent, though?
So if they were correlating to an earthquake, it could mean that it was an actual hallucination.
Ruben offers a really gross thought. Come over here and share it so they can hear you.
Gross story.
Huh?
Gross.
I mean, the idea of it, what if they did that to people, Okay, so
Okay.
I don't want the mess in here, but
So I'll just do this. So earthquakes produce
okay. Just talk.
they produce something called ELS, extremely low frequency pulse waves. And the government has experimented with those to induce hallucinations and very intense vomiting in people as a weapon. So if it did correlate with earthquakes, it's possible that it could be just a hallucination from those waves hitting people.
Gross thought, huh? Steven, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I guess there was no earthquake. I guess that theory don't work out.
All right. Well, Dina says there was no record of a major earthquake on the east coast of the United States in 1819. The most significant seismic activity in the early 1800s was the series of the New Madrid earthquakes in 1811 to 1812. I'm surprised that they were recording it really that far back. But so yeah, what if it's an anaconda? Maybe somebody got a pet, released him.
Anaconda.
Damn. My anaconda don't want none. Okay.
Who said anaconda?
Dina. You know what she was doing. All right. Well, I guess that's it then. I mean, if you have nothing else, so.
What does everybody want to do? No sea creatures. No sea creatures this time.
You don't want to do Nessie next time and see if there's a correlation between the two?
I'll do Nessie, but not any other sea creatures. We've done a lot of sea creatures.
Okay.
Well, the mermaid.
So let's do Nessie for the next one, and then try to combine the two and see if you can find any kind of relation to them. Not necessarily genetic relation, but if there is a correlation between the two. All right.
Like other similar creatures, there is.
Right. Okay. And so let's see, compare the sightings, do they look similar? Do they move similarly? Do they, react similarly and things like that? And then we can try to piece together if they are in fact maybe just the same creature just found all over this earth, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Vicky says earthquake would be bad enough, but to hallucinate sea serpents along with it.
Yeah. I mean, they could have seen something, but not knowing what it was.
Mm-hmm. But either way, it still doesn't have a bearing. Either they created the earthquake or earthquake-like symptoms, or they didn't. Either way, either the serpent came up or people were just hallucinating. I don't know how that really went with that, but
sightings and stories
of Nessie and all the other similar creatures. Also, you guys do the same thing. So this is a group effort of education. This is for the people who don't know about some of these things or whatever. So by all means, find out what you can about them. Tell us if you've seen anything like that or whatever, on the next one. And that way we can engage more and invite people to come to the show too. Because the more people we have in here, the more the conversation can go deeper and we can learn more from each other than just me or Steven. So. And we're learning from you guys. So,
like, I've never been to Massachusetts. I don't know what it's like.
Right. Vicky said, I have an audio recording of some guys discussing their theory. No.
Not Gage's.
We might.
Not Gage's theory.
Yes, that would be hilarious. So, okay.
Not
so everybody,
Gage's theory.
Vicky is talking about her grandson, Gage, who is a member of this group. He doesn't live around here, so he's not as involved as he used to be. But one night we were doing an investigation and one of us forgot to turn off our recorder. And I don't know how the conversation got brought up, but we started talking about Nessie, right? And Gage had this hilarious and gross theory of what Nessie might actually be. And I mean, I have set this to no kids allowed. So if you're sensitive to things or whatever.
Are you allowed to say this on air?
I should, because I have it set to where no kids are allowed to watch this. Nobody under the age of 18. So anyways, but if you're sensitive to this, I guess just cover your ears. I don't know. Anyways, his funny theory, obviously it's not true, but it's just hilarious, was that Nessie was in fact just the penis of a whale that had flipped upside down, and that thing was just out there in the water waving around, and that's all you could see of the whale was the penis. And it's not really a serpent at all. It was just a big old penis. So, of course he didn't use that word, but I kept it a little cleaner for you. But yeah, it was so funny though. At the time, you had to have heard it. It's hilarious. And I'm sure if you listen to the recording, it's even funnier because we don't know it's being recorded.
There's no way you can play that on there without offending half the people in the world.
Oh, they all need to grow up too.
But it was Nessie. Nessie is a whale penis.
Yeah. Oh, Joe says he's heard of that. Is it like a real theory out there in the world, not just Gage's crazy mind wandering around?
Oh, Lord.
Nessie D. More like Whale D, but yes.
Is this theory going to come up on the next show, too?
I think we're going to play the recording because it's not as funny if me telling it as it when it actually happened. It was like, what the frig?
I think he believes that. I think he actually really does believe that.
I don't know. He's funny like that, though. He has some crazy theories about things, but then he'll be like, he has that dry sense of humor about him. He'll be like, no, after, and you're like, really? No,
Just like Jesse.
Yes.
Yes. But not as stern.
Well, they're related, though. It's going to be a given. So, all righty, guys. Well, I guess we'll get out of here, and maybe next week we'll make it the full hour. Remember, if you've heard of things, know of anything, by all means, start bringing over your pictures. You can, if you have images that you want to share with me that you want us to share on the show, send them to me over to my email. It's lizwithabyss@gmail.com. Let me double check that. I never use that email, so make sure there's no underscores. I feel like there is. Let me double check. So it is, it's lizwithabyss@gmail.com. No underscores, no nothing like that. Send over your links, your images, or whatever. I'll get them over to Steven, and we'll present your guys' ideas and stuff, and we'll discuss it, okay? Remember, bring some people with you, okay? And everybody have a great night. And, oh, I'm sorry.
That's what happened.
Vicky said, and I was analyzing audio for evidence and come up on that conversation. Then Steven realized recorder was on.
I had it on.
Okay. So in all seriousness though, Vicky, we need to present that. I think our audience is well adult enough that they can handle that sort of
But maybe
thing.
it needs to be censored.
Yes. All right, guys. So Monday, keep your fingers crossed that I will have a show. I'm in the works with a couple of people, but schedules aren't lining up very well. At the minimum, we will be back in 2 weeks with the Cryptid Show with Steven. We will be talking about Nessie and sharing your all's ideas, pictures, and stories as well. So everybody have a great night, and we'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.